So, we've all heard the term emotional intelligence, right? It gets thrown around all the time, especially in business, and it can start to feel a little bit like corporate jargon. But what if it's not? What if it's actually one of the most concrete, powerful, and frankly, life-changing skills you can build? Today, we're going to cut through the buzzwords and get to what it really is and why it matters so much.
To really get this, I want you to put yourself in a scene. Are you ready? Okay. It's Friday. It's 4:55 p.m. You are this close to closing your laptop and starting the weekend. And then it happens. An email hits your inbox. The subject line is in all caps, urgent. It's from a senior manager, and it's not good. It's tearing apart your work from last week, and you notice your entire team is CC'd. Just sit with that for a second. How does that feel?
Yeah, for most of us, it feels like a physical blow. Your stomach just drops, right? Your face gets hot. Maybe you feel a flash of white-hot anger, or maybe a wave of pure panic just washes over you. That immediate, overwhelming tidal wave of feeling from just a few sentences on a screen, that is a perfect example of a moment when our emotional intelligence is just completely checked out.
So, how do we deal with moments like that without just, spiraling? Well, the answer is all about building up our emotional intelligence. Let's start with a really simple way to wrap our heads around what this thing actually is.
The term was really made famous by a guy named Daniel Goleman, who built on the research of Solovey and Mayer. But let's skip the academic jargon. In plain English, emotional intelligence, or EI, is just about being smart with feelings. It's about being aware of your own emotions and understanding the emotions of the people around you. It's basically the instruction manual for being a person that none of us ever got.
I think this is the best way to think about it. Imagine all your technical skills, your ability to code, your marketing knowledge, your accounting prowess. Those are like the software applications on a computer. They're amazing, and they do specific, important things. But your emotional intelligence? That's the operating system. It's what's running everything in the background, managing all the resources, and making sure all those amazing apps can actually run without crashing. And we've all had a computer with a buggy OS, right? It doesn't matter how great your software is, if the OS crashes, the whole system goes down with it.
And look, EI isn't just about damage control. It's about being incredibly effective. Let me give you a quick story. There's a project leader who notices that one of her best developers has gone radio silent in meetings for a week. Now, instead of calling him out in front of everyone, she pulls him aside privately and just asks, "Hey, is everything okay?" And it turns out he'd found a huge, project-killing flaw in their plan, but was too intimidated to bring it up in a group setting. That one quiet, empathetic check-in just saved the team weeks, maybe months of work. That is high-level emotional intelligence in action.
Okay, so before we go any deeper, we have to do some cleanup work. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions floating around about EI. To really understand what it is, we first have to get crystal clear on what it is not. First up, this idea that EI just means being nice or fluffy. It's absolutely not true. High EI doesn't mean you're a pushover. In fact, it often means you're able to have the really hard conversations. Think about having to announce layoffs. The low EI approach is to be cold and corporate. The nice approach is to avoid it. The high EI leader is direct and clear, but delivers the news with genuine empathy and humanity, understanding the impact it's going to have. It's about being skillful, not just nice.
Myth number 2 is that it's all about stuffing your feelings down and being some kind of robot. It's the exact opposite. Your emotions are data. They are messengers. That anxiety you feel, it might be telling you that you need to prepare more for a presentation. That flash of anger, maybe it's telling you a personal boundary has been crossed. The goal is never to stop feeling, it's to listen to what your feelings are trying to tell you so you can choose how to respond.
This is a big one. A lot of people think you have to be this super bubbly, outgoing people person to have high EI. No way. Some of the most emotionally intelligent people I've ever met are quiet, observant introverts. Why? Because a huge part of EI is listening and observing. They're the ones who notice the subtle shift in body language or the slight hesitation in someone's voice that everyone else misses. Their quiet observation is a legit superpower.
And finally, this is maybe the most important myth to bust. People sometimes worry that EI is just a sneaky way to manipulate people. And yeah, can the skills be used that way? Sure. But the intent is what matters. Manipulation is all about me. It's self-serving and aims for a short-term win. Authentic EI is about us. It's about building genuine, long-term trust and mutual respect. It's the difference between tricking someone and truly inspiring them. Okay, myth-busting complete. So if that's what EI isn't, then what is it? Well, luckily, Daniel Goleman gave us a super clear, learnable framework. Think of this as the roadmap for how you actually build this skill, broken down into 5 key parts.
It all starts with the foundation, the absolute bedrock,
self-awareness. This is just knowing what you're feeling as you're feeling it and having a clue as to why. From there, you can move to self-regulation. This is the game changer. It's that little space between a feeling and an action. It's the pause that stops you from hitting send on that angry email. Then you have motivation. This is about using your emotions to push you forward, to be resilient when things get tough. Once you've got a handle on your own inner world, you can turn your focus outward to empathy. And this is more than just feeling sorry for someone. It's genuinely trying to see the world from their point of view. And finally, all of that comes together in social skills. This is EI in action, using everything you've learned to communicate clearly, resolve conflicts, and build strong relationships. And the best part? These aren't personality traits you're born with. They are all skills. You can learn them, you can practice them, and you can get better at them.
All right, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds good, it sounds nice, but is it really worth my time? What's the actual, real-world payoff? Let's talk about the hard data, because the return on this investment is staggering.
So check this out. In a massive study by Travis Bradbury that looked at over 1 million people, they found that EI accounts for 58% of success in all types of jobs. Let me say that again, 58%. It's not just a factor, it is the single strongest predictor of performance. That's more than your IQ, more than your experience. It's huge.
And yes, it shows up in your wallet. The very same research found that people with high emotional intelligence earn, on average, $29,000 more per year than people with low EI. This isn't just a soft skill with soft benefits. It has a real, tangible, hard financial return. And if you want to be at the absolute top of your field, well, the connection gets even stronger. A full 90%, 90, of top performers are high in emotional intelligence. The evidence is just overwhelming. If you want to excel, this isn't optional. It's essential.
Let me tell you about a programmer I once knew. He was a genius, truly, one of the best coders I've ever seen, but his career completely flatlined. Why? Because he was abrasive, he was dismissive of other people's ideas, and he was totally oblivious to the trail of frustration he left behind him. People hated working with him. His teams had crazy high turnover. The company knew he was brilliant, but they couldn't promote him because his low EI made him a terrible leader. His sky-high IQ was totally bottlenecked by his low EI.
And this isn't just about individuals, it's about entire teams. Google spent years and millions of dollars on a massive study called Project Aristotle to figure out what made their most effective teams so great. And the #1 factor they found wasn't how many PhDs were in the room. It was something they called psychological safety, which is basically just a team culture where people feel safe enough to take risks, to be vulnerable, to admit mistakes without fear of blame. And where does that come from? It's a direct outcome of having leaders and team members with high emotional intelligence.
Okay, we have covered a lot. We've talked about what EI is, what it isn't, and why it's so incredibly important. Now let's make this practical. I want to give you one simple, powerful thing you can start doing today to begin your first EI workout.
It's called the 2-Minute Emotion Journal. It's so simple. At the end of the day, just take 2 minutes and ask yourself 2 questions. First, what was the single strongest emotion I felt today? And second, what triggered it? For example, the emotion was a deep sense of satisfaction. The trigger was finally solving that bug that had been bothering me for a week. That's it. The key here is not to judge it or try to fix it. Just notice. This simple act of noticing is the first and most important step to building that foundational pillar of self-awareness.
So, if you only take one thing away from our time together today, let it be this. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skill. It's a power skill. It is a concrete, learnable, practical set of tools for navigating the messy, complicated, and amazing world of being a human who has to interact with other humans.
So you now have a tool to start noticing your emotions as they happen, but it begs a really fascinating question, doesn't it? When you get that all-caps email and you feel that hot rush of panic, what is actually going on inside your brain to create that lightning-fast automatic reaction? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into next time. Thanks for joining me.